Hey guys, welcome back to another Motion Raceworks YouTube video. Today we're back on our Gen 5 Nova. If you don't recall, the last time we had it out, we burned up the transmission. It got super hot. It started slipping. We were thinking about just changing the fluid and taking it back out, but our friend Pete Harrell at HED was like, you know what? I've seen this before. A lot of times when they get hot, they'll act fine, but what happens is the bushings either swell and then shrink and either fall out or start to gall up. So we decided to pull the transmission out, and Jackson Jimmy, James Tall, him and his dad went through it for me. We have the transmission back and it's ready to go in. At the same time, we are upgrading to a new Greg Slack converter. The converter we had was slipping super bad. Even at a 117, I think might have been our best 60 foot, was just slipping its butt off. We were putting a lot of power to it and it was barely picking up. So we decided we were gonna tighten things up, go with a converter. It was slipping almost 12 to 15% out the back door. So we really think this thing should be trapping in the 190s now, which is super cool. Not sure how fast it is gonna go now, but we're pretty pumped to see what it'll do. All right guys, transmission is in, everything's topped off. We're ready to fire it up. Hopefully, if everything goes well, all we'll have to do is pack the parachute and load her up and go to the track. I decided against putting the new rear third member in, so we're gonna go ahead and test it with just the new converter first. I don't ever like to change too many things at once, even though I know it'll need the gear. Get a handle on that, and then probably tonight after we test, we'll come back, put the third member in, and take it back out again. Should be an exciting couple days, and I'm interested and very excited to see the progress of the Nova, especially testing some of the new parts. See how it goes. So we got the Nova all loaded up. We're out at Bradenton. They're having a test session today, and then swinging right into US Street Nationals. Our buddy Red's over there setting up shop with his LDR Nova. With a new converter, I always like to put it up on the brake and make sure it'll come up on the converter. And if not, and you have to adjust tuning, that's the time to do it rather than being up at the line. That's why we're out here right now, is just kind of seeing where that stuff lies and getting used to the new stuff and figuring out what it likes as far as going down the track. And then, you know, it's always a good idea to make sure you have all your fluids topped off, all that stuff. So that's not telling you guys anything new, but that's what we're doing here today. That way we can race this weekend and give it a good run and see how things go. And then hopefully get some new part testing in today and maybe some new personal bests. So let's get it running.
What's that, 56? 56? Are you freaking kidding me? 736. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
All right guys, so first pass off the trailer. We really didn't change anything. Actually, we didn't even touch the laptop. Red decided, you know, if this converter hooks up in couples, it's gonna probably get after it out of the hole. So we tightened 3 clicks on the extension so that basically try and simmer down a wheelie in case the torque converter really got after the tire a little bit. New personal best, 478, 736, almost 189 mile an hour in a quarter, 151.3 in the 8. 60 foot still slow, so maybe that's going to be reason enough for us to change the gear a little bit faster, but we're going to pull the data, see what it looks like, and go from there. How can you not be happy about that? Didn't even touch the tune. The last pass I made down the track, we went 51, Red.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kind of shows you how much all the little details matter. I mean, just a simple torque converter change is all it took to go from 51 to 36. That's, you guys spend a lot of money on horsepower to try and get there. Just working on that chassis and that combination always does it. So we're gonna go look at the log and see what we find and start chipping away at it.
Dude, it did. I thought it was. Oh, I thought it was gonna come up the rest of the way. What is 60 foot?
118 again. 474 at 151.
So it was really ripping through. Still can't get the 60 foot down.
All right, guys, so second pass, we were just gonna run an 1/8 mile because there's no reason in beating its guts out. At this point, we're just trying to get the 60 foot and 100 and 330 down. We still had to pedal it again. If you watch this video, it hung the tires good. You can actually see when it lands, it sparks the tires or it squeaks the tires because it almost lifted right off the ground. So we adjusted the travel limiters in the front. They're like a bolt style on this Nova. It had about 2.25 inches of travel. Now it's got about 1 3/8 in travel. So we're hoping it'll keep the front end down a little bit better this time. But it still went on the back tires. You can see it on the video. It went 118 60 foot, and it went a 474 with an 1/8, 151.9, so it's almost 152 mile an hour. And then I let off probably right after the 8th if you look in the log, and I went 766 at 144. So this hog's got a lot in it. My goal this weekend by the end of the US Street Nationals is to have a 450 pass under my belt, and since I just pedaled a 474, I think it's got it. If we can get it to go like a 114, stay down, and run out the 8th mile, I think we can get in the 450s, and I think we'll have a competitive car. So we're gonna go, we iced it down, put some fuel in it, we're gonna go run another pass, see if we can get it to calm down a little bit, and set another record. Hey guys, we're back for another day of testing at Bradenton Motorsports Park. We're getting ready for the US Street Nationals. I think we're going to enter the heavy street class. We were talking with Pete Harrell about what the car is doing, how we can make it better. We went 469 at 152, huge pickup, but there's so much left in it. It was wanting to hang the tires and drive a little bit to the left. So we're going to correct how it's driving a little bit, and then we're going to try and hang some weight on the front of the car because we got to weigh 3350 minimum for that class. Pete also wants us to do a gear swap. It's got a 350 gear in it now. We're gonna switch to a 370 gear. It's dropping about 500 RPMs between the 1-2 shift. It's a Power Glide 2-speed, which is fine. It can be tightened up even a little bit more and it'll be just fine. But the main concern is out the back door. On the first run of the day, it still had like 8 to 9% of slip, so we're going to try and tighten that up a little bit, get some more mile an hour out of it. We're going to do that by going from a 350 gear to a 370 gear. Right now it's going through the traps about 8190, so we're going to probably be more like an 8400 RPM range, which is just fine because we have short travel lifters, roller, tip, Jessel rockers, and all the valve train and everything to support it. So that's no problem. I think that's ultimately how we're going to get this thing down into the bottom 7s. And I'm almost thinking maybe 6s are in the cards for this car at some point, but we won't get too ahead of ourselves yet. I'm going to go change the rear gear and go from there. You know things are getting serious when our social media guy is getting down here.
I'm trying to get dirty.
Chicago guy's getting dirty up here.
Yeah.
We got Red supervising.
You gotta have one supervisor at all times.
Especially for a photographer.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a guy faster than you supervising. So.
Yeah.
Whew, buddy. This thing looks like it's been in the car for about 100,000 miles. That just shows you how dirty Race Week gets things. Putting the Motion Raceworks drive shaft sensor in, setting the gap before we put her in the car so we can just kind of plug it in once we get it up there. And beyond that, all we're gonna have to do is bolt it back down and fluid in her. How's she looking, Red?
45. Not too tight.
All right. Typically run my drive shaft sensor about as tight as I can, 45, anywhere between 45 and 60. 45 is where I've been running it. So one of the keys you want to do is make sure that the drive shaft sensor itself is square, so when the teeth are coming, they're parallel with the edge of the sensor. You don't want it tilted this way or this way too much. That'll kind of give you a bad reading a lot of times. But beyond that, pretty simple. Brad, when he wired the car, put this connector on it, so pretty easy to connect back together. And then we'll go toss in the car. That went in easy.
It went in so good, you don't even need bolts.
That's concerning.
Don't even need nuts.
All right, going back together.
Yeah, I just probably help put the pads back in.
Probably put the pads back in the caliper, Prinka.
Very good idea.
Might help you stop later tonight.
Mickey Thompson wheels going back on. Be ready to make a rip. Last night was bad. Big wheelie. We put that gear in there solely to tighten up the shift a little bit and tighten up the converter going down the track. We really didn't think it would be that big of a change as far as a wheelie goes, but did a big wheelie, had to get out of it. So now you kind of start over. And that's one of the problems with trying to make a car go faster. Is a lot of times you get really fast, or you get to a point you're pretty comfortable with and you want to go faster, you kind of have to start back at square one. So to combat the wheelie, we've got the extension on full tight. We took like another probably 3/8 of an inch of travel out of the front of the car, probably down to like an inch of travel on the front of the car, maybe slightly more. And then one thing we didn't even think about, just because the car is always so effortlessly gone down the track, we still had pump gas in the other tank. So we took about 7 or 5 gallons of that out, which is roughly 35-40 pounds. So we're hoping all of those change combined, plus we loosened extension in the back to kind of let the rear separate. We're hoping all of those things combined will at least keep the front end down. We did back off the boost controller, so some wholesale changes, trying to get the car to go. We know though, based off of what we saw with the 370 gear, this thing's gonna really go hard with that 370 gear and lock up really fast, which is really awesome, because that's something that, a car, I say low horsepower compared to like LDR and Radio versus the World, that's something you're always fighting. I mean, you have, if you want to go fast with a car that's underpowered compared to those guys, you have to get that thing and get it moving and get it locked up and get all the power in as fast as possible. Otherwise, you're wasting time. So we're gonna head up now and try to make another hit while it's daylight out, see what it does, and then make some more changes from there.
All right, what's the plan for this rip, Doug?
We're gonna hopefully keep the front end down, and then we're gonna full send it. First full pass of the weekend, hopefully, and then we're gonna go ahead and come back and turn some heat up on these boys.
Trying to. Small tire car planning heavy. All right, good. 460. 460. Shoe buddy.
So it worked. We threw everything we could possibly do at it to counteract the wheelie. Thanks to Red and Pete and Biggin, Customs by Biggin, the guy is a madman. Mags at Mags Fab Works. We all kind of came up with some ideas and put them all into play, and it went. So 114 short time, 460 within 8, I believe, and then 156.46. Let me talk about that. 5 miles an hour it picked up just putting that gear in, as long as we could keep the front end down. That is so much from just a small gear change. It went 151.5 several times with the 350 gear. With the 370, it just really made the car couple the converter a lot more and picked up a ton of mile an hour. So don't discredit those small changes. They can sometimes make a huge difference. So we are gonna start putting some power back in it. We pulled a bunch of power out. We're gonna put some power back in it and start seeing if we can't move up forward from there. I want to get this thing in the 50s. It'd be really cool. 460 is probably in the 7.0s, low 17s. So we're getting close to a 6-second capable front half. The back half, in my opinion, is a lot easier to kind of pair with the front half after you got that figured out. So we'll see what happens.
Right on the stud frame here. See, there's track implanted into it.
Okay.
Seemed like it's fine otherwise. So.
Alright, so last pass, struck the tire first time in probably like years. I think I may have struck tires like 4 times this year. We're trying to like move weight around because it's such a fine line now at this point where we're trying to push the car. But you guys see how much lead's under there, Chad. It's pretty crazy.
We don't have the ability to like revalve the shocks at this point, so we got 20 here, 20 here, 20 here, 25, 25, 10. It's a lot.
There's a few.
You got to be 3350 in this class, so.
Efficiency and high standard goal ourselves 2 years.
All right, guys, it's race day at Bradenton Motorsports Park. It took a little bit of learning to get a handle on the new converter and gear set, but we're there. We can obviously run back-to-back 460s based off the last like 3 or 4 passes, so we know how to do it. Unfortunately, it's getting to be a little bit difficult to go faster, not because of power, but because of how the car sits. We need to lower down the front end, but we're gonna run this race and just be hard on the tree and go 460s, and that's pretty much all we can do. We've learned a ton this weekend, so let's go ahead and move into eliminations here and see how it goes. We won our first round against a customer. That's never, it's always a little bittersweet, if you will. We got Rick Prospero. Next round, he's got the green RX-7. If you don't remember, he won the Christmas tree race. This thing's lightning fast. So luckily I went 16 on a tree on the last pass, so I'm gonna try and do that again or a little bit better this pass, because that's my only shot against this thing. It's a super fast car, and I'm gonna have to win on a tree and just hope for the best. So we're not going to turn it up anymore because we don't really want to hurt it. We have a big enough gap between us and him. You know, turning it up isn't really going to improve that chance, so to speak. But we do have the scramble ready, so we'll see what happens. Guys, I went red. All I had to do was go green, but that's how racing goes. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We'll see you later.